Secret Mom Hacks, episode number 52. My name is Krista, and I am your host. It's January 31st, 2024, and since tomorrow is the first day of February, the month of love for however you celebrate, maybe that's Galentine's Day, Self-Love Day, or Valentine's Day on the 14th. February is also American Heart Month. So today we are talking about some important matters of the heart. If you caught episode 41 back in November, I shared my divorce story with you and how I navigated divorce when my daughter was just an infant. I won't get into all of those details here since I have a whole episode dedicated to it. But today's show is going to cover dating as a single mom. Now, I want to preface this by saying my plan worked. Okay, my divorce was final back in 2019 when my daughter was about 15 months old. And I was married for nearly 10 years. And unbeknownst to me, in addition to the crimes my ex-husband pled guilty to, he had also started seeing other people about a year into our marriage. So literally the day my divorce was final, I jumped into the world of dating. Fast forward to today, I finally found my Mr. Right thanks to some of the things I'm going to share with you today. And we got married in 2022. Y'all, dating as a single mom can be scary and hard, but it can also be fun and life-changing depending on what you're looking for, of course. So I'm excited to share my experience in the world of dating with you. But before we get into that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, Mama. I started this podcast because babies don't come with instructions. As of this recording, I am chasing around a 5-year-old that no amount of Googling, mom groups, or books were able to prepare me for. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about when it comes to pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, and postpartum. And as someone who was previously terrified of all of the above, I'm here to help you pull back the curtain on all of it. And every now and then, it may get a little messy. We may share a little TMI, but that's why you're here, right? My goal is you'll leave every episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and hopeful, knowing you are not on this mom journey alone. Now, there's a lot of subject matter to cover when it comes to mom life, and we are covering it all. So let's talk about dating as a single mom. Before we delve into the intricacies of dating as a single mom, let me share a bit of my own story. I vividly remember the mix of excitement and nervousness that came with stepping back into the dating scene after becoming a single mom. Things were very different. I hadn't dated since I was in my early 20s as a teenager, and then through college, and then I get out into the professional world and I'm starting my career, and that's when I had jumped into dating. And through my career was where I had first met my now ex-husband. But a lot of things had changed since then. So that was back in 2008, 2009. I had gotten married in 2010. And now fast forward to today. Actually, if you fast forward to when my divorce was final, that was at the end of 2019. So a lot had changed in 9, 10 years, right? Technology has changed a lot. Society has changed a lot. How we get out and meet people and network and date, all of it had changed a lot. I had changed a lot. The first time, again, rewind back to the early 2000s when I was dating, I was a very different person. I was not yet a mom. And so now here I am thrust back into the dating world, and I was figuring out mom life. I had a 1-year-old that I was learning how to raise this little human and be the best mom I could be to this little human, while also figuring out, okay, who I am now as a single mom and who I wanted to be. And I was also going into an office every day at that time, making an hour one way commute to my office, an hour one way back. So there were these moments of self doubt and questions about whether anyone would understand the juggling act I was mastering. Yet, amidst those uncertainties, there were lessons of resilience and newfound strength and unexpected joy. And each date, whether it was a hit or a miss, brought me closer to understanding what I truly wanted in a partner. So, as we navigate this episode together, know that I am not just your host. I'm not just the host of Secret Mom Hacks. I'm not just this random voice behind the mic. I've been a fellow sojourner in this adventure called single motherhood, and I am eager to share, learn, and possibly the most important component of all of this is laugh. So I'm eager to do all of that with you. As we're setting sail on the sometimes tumultuous, often thrilling seas of dating as a single mom, this is a journey that you, or perhaps another mom you know, could be familiar with. We'll be delving into the challenges, offering practical tips for navigating this unique terrain. And of course, you know I've got to share a few of my dating horror stories with you. We're not just here, though, to talk about the difficulties, but to shed light on the silver linings and remind you that true love is out there waiting to be discovered, if that is ultimately what you truly desire. So, whether you're a single mom gearing up for the dating scene, a supportive friend lending an ear, or someone who just loves a good love story, you are in for a treat. Okay, this is not a journey for the faint hearted, but oh, the adventures it brings. Acknowledging the challenges is the first step to navigating this labyrinth. One of the unmistakable challenges is the delicate dance of time. As single moms, our hours are often spoken for. Like I was saying earlier, between the demands of parenting, work, and the number of responsibilities we shoulder, finding the time for a cup of coffee, let alone a romantic dinner, can feel like threading a needle in a hurricane. Balancing priorities is another task. There's this constant juggling act between being the nurturing mom and the person seeking companionship. It's navigating the space where me time meets bedtime stories and diaper changes. But here's the silver lining. Amidst the challenges, we find gems of resilience, self awareness, and the unique ability to cherish meaningful connections. This maze, though intricate, reveals strengths we might not have known we possessed. Single motherhood hones our ability to prioritize what truly matters. You know, they often say if it matters to you, you will make time for it. If something is important to you, if it's a priority, you will find time to make it happen. And so that's how it was for me. Like I said, had a crazy commute, busy as a single mom, trying to figure out the best way I can be the best mom to this precious little baby I was raising. But I also knew that I didn't want to go it alone. Now, I was not willing to settle by any means. I really treated this like a game and I was serious about finding my Mr. Right. So, making the time for dating and meeting people really became a priority for me. And I was really fortunate that I have a great support system around me. So, for example, when I needed somebody to watch my daughter so I could go out and meet someone that I had set up myself on a date with, that I didn't have to worry about who was watching my daughter. So, if it's important, you will make time for it. Single motherhood hones our ability to prioritize what truly matters. It fosters a discerning heart, one that doesn't settle for anything less than a connection that adds value to our lives. The journey may be like a maze, but it's in these twists and turns that we discover the treasures of our own strength and the potential for beautiful connections. Now, let's equip ourselves with some practical tips for navigating the dating terrain as single moms. It's not just about finding love, it's about doing so with intention and wisdom and a dash of courage. First and foremost, let's talk about the cornerstone of it all: self care. We talk a lot about self care here on Secret Mom Hacks. It's not a luxury, it is a necessity. In the whirlwind of parenting and potential romance, we often forget to refuel our own spirits. And we deserve it. So make it a non negotiable, whether it's stealing moments for a cup of tea, a good book, or a bubble bath. Y'all have heard me talk about how much I love my hot baths with my bath bombs. You have got to prioritize self care because a rejuvenated you is the best version to present to the world. As we step into the dating realm, let's embrace the power of communication. It's really important to be open about your role as a single mom from the get go. Now, I will admit this is a mistake I made. It's a lesson I learned the hard way. Frankly, I just ended up wasting some time because not ever having been on these apps back when I was dating the first time, before I had gotten married the first time, I wasn't on dating apps. I met people out and about, I met people through work. And so I had never been on these dating apps. So when I was thrust into the dating world as a single mom, I was just looking to meet men. I was looking to meet men and to ideally find a future mate. And so, yes, from the beginning, I should have been open about being a single mom, but I was just so nervous about putting myself out there for the first time. That was not something I felt inclined to put on my profile initially. And so I would be setting up dates and I would go out on these dates, and then it would come up, oh, yeah, I have a young daughter, I have an infant. She's a year old or a year and 3 months old or whatever it was at the time. And with some of these men, you could just see like a switch turn off. And all of a sudden, they just were not even remotely interested. So I definitely wasted some time, my time and their time, lesson learned. So after a date or two of experiencing that, I made that very clear on my dating profile that I am the single mom of a baby girl and that I am here to get to know people outside of a screen. I'm not interested in hiding behind our electronic devices. So let's talk on the phone. Let's meet in person. Let's do something besides text and message each other, right? And I made it clear also that I wasn't here just to date around, that I believed true love was out there and that I was looking to be in a relationship with someone who ultimately wants a family and with somebody who wants to get married. So I very quickly updated my profile and made sure that was clear from the get-go so that I wasn't wasting my time. And it's not about apologizing for being a parent. That's something that I am and was and always have been proud of. It's simply about setting clear expectations. Honest conversations early on lay the foundation for understanding and avoiding potential misunderstandings down the road. Because I knew having that information on my profile, if they missed that, they are lazy. And if it was a surprise to them when we went out on that date, then I would very quickly realize, okay, this person was not fully paying attention to what I put on my profile. This is not going to work out, and on to the next. So that ideally, as I'm meeting people and with that information on my profile, they should know what they are getting connected with. In the experience of when I met Jeff, who is now my husband, as I said earlier, we got married in 2022. So, because I'd had that on my profile, the fact that I was a mom and that I was career driven and that I wanted to take communications beyond the screens and beyond text message and beyond messaging, and that I was looking for a serious, committed, long-term relationship, those were all things that were attractive to him. So again, just being transparent from the get-go is going to be so helpful because it's going to weed out the people that you don't want to be connected with. It should weed out a lot of them. We can't say it's going to weed out everyone. But for me, that really helped it narrow down as I was connecting with Jeff, because so many things on my profile and on his, vice versa, everything resonated. The more transparent you can be, the more likely you're going to connect with the type of person you want to be in a relationship with. Now, the timing of introducing a new partner to your child is a delicate matter. There's no one size fits all answer here, but here is a guiding principle. Ensure the relationship has some stability and potential for longevity, because kids thrive on consistency. So introducing them too early on to someone who might not be a long-term presence can be confusing. So take your time. When you do introduce your child, make it a casual encounter initially. Maybe it's a park outing or a shared meal, something where your child can simply get to know this person as a friend. Keep the conversation light and let it evolve organically. And so when I had jumped into the dating world, Jeff is the only man that she ever met in that whole time period. And I'm really happy he is the only one she met, because here we are several years later and we are happily married and we're all a family. Keep everything light and let it evolve on its own pace. All right, in this digital age, dating apps have become a significant avenue for meeting potential partners. As a single mom, dipping your toe into this vast pool of possibilities can be both exciting and overwhelming. So let's break it down. First, let's talk about the array of dating apps and websites at our fingertips. You don't need me to tell you the number of websites where you can go to connect with and meet other people, websites or apps. So, from the more mainstream platforms such as Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, to those tailored for specific interests or demographics, the choices are vast. Each app has its unique features, and the key is finding the one that aligns with your preferences and your comfort. So consider the ones that prioritize meaningful connections or those with features that resonate with your lifestyle. Some apps like Stir, which didn't even exist to my knowledge back when I was dating this second time around, so apps like Stir and Bumble even cater specifically to single parents, acknowledging the nuances of dating when children are part of the equation. And I think that may be a new feature of Bumble, because once again, when I was on the app, I don't remember parents being a section in that app. So that must be a pretty new feature. But these platforms can offer a convenient way to meet like-minded individuals, and success stories abound. In fact, as I mentioned a moment ago, I used Bumble. I also used an app called Coffee Meets Bagel and Hinge. Hinge is actually the app where Jeff and I met. Now, very important, it's essential to approach dating apps with a healthy dose of realism. Not every connection is going to be a love story, and that's perfectly fine. It's about exploring possibilities and, most importantly, staying true to yourself. As we all know, dating comes with its fair share of quirky and downright hilarious moments. So I definitely want to tell you about some of my dating horror stories that I can actually look back on and laugh about now. And I have 3 stories that come to mind. The first one, we're just going to call him the whiskey tasting guy. So I've got to rewind some details here just a little bit for you. I can't remember if I mentioned this back in episode 41 or not when I was sharing my divorce story. Maybe I did. But when everything that happened, I packed my daughter and I out of the home that we were sharing with my now ex-husband, and I was very fortunate to be able to move my daughter and I in with my parents. My parents live in our area, very thankfully. So for a period of time, my daughter and I were living with them. And obviously that is awesome for so many reasons. Now, near my parents' area, there is a distillery. I enjoy having a glass of wine every now and then, and I enjoy trying different types of spirits. So I enjoy tasting whiskey and bourbon and gin and all of that. There are some great distilleries in our area, and even there's a bourbon trail throughout Kentucky, for example. We don't live too far. We're in Tennessee, so we live near Lynchburg, where you've got the Jack Daniel's distillery and all of that. And so anyway, there's this small little distillery just outside of the town where my parents were living at the time. And so near where my daughter and I were also living at the time. I had never been to this distillery. So I connect with this guy. I'm pretty sure we'd connected on Bumble. I can't remember which app. It was either Bumble or Hinge. Those were really my 2 primary apps where I was meeting guys to go on dates. And so this particular guy, I remember he was a corrections officer. We had sent a couple of messages back and forth, and now he's like, well, it would be nice to go out with you sometime. And yes, my response, that sounds lovely. Let's make it happen. And so we're talking about things we like to do. And then it almost seems like I basically started taking over the planning of this date, which again, looking back on it all, hello, there's all the red flags. And again, I'm sure there's lots of opinions on that because I'm an independent woman and, blah, blah, whatever. I am the type of person who I prefer to let the men take the lead romantically. If they're going to wine and dine me and get to know me, then maybe they ask what I'm interested in, but then they proceed with planning the date. If they want to take me out and show me a nice time, then they get to plan the date. So looking back on all of this, it's kind of silly and annoying, but somehow the planner in me took over in planning this date. And so I threw out the idea of this distillery near where I lived at the time. And I had mentioned that there was a restaurant nearby as well. So I was like, we could go to this whiskey tasting and then we could go to the restaurant afterwards. And with our schedules, we were actually looking at doing this on like a Saturday afternoon or something like that. And this distillery did not do tastings past 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock was the last tasting, which in my mind, okay, we go do the tasting, we go do dinner. The tasting's probably going to take about an hour. So let's say we're done at 4, then we go to dinner, which this restaurant was like 5 minutes from where the distillery was. So we're looking at having a super early dinner, a very early dinner, like 4:35 at the latest, okay? And if we've already had drinks at the whiskey tasting, then certainly I'm a responsible adult. So I know that at dinner, I don't know, maybe I would have a glass of wine or one adult beverage or whatever, but I'm going to be drinking water and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be fine to drive home. So, and this man, he knew that I had a daughter. He did not know that at the time my young baby girl and I that we were living with our parents. For all he knew, we had an apartment close by and I was hiring a sitter, or whatever. So he did not know we were living with my parents. But he proceeded to tell me or ask me. He was like, "Okay, so let's go to the distillery and then let's do dinner. And how about after dinner, I just come back to your place and we'll see where it goes from there. I just don't believe in drinking and driving." I don't know exactly where he lived, but we're in the Nashville area is all I will say. So I believe he may have lived perhaps on the other side of town. So maybe it was going to take him 45 minutes or close to an hour potentially if he was having to drive from one suburb of Nashville to the complete opposite other. Okay, maybe it was going to be, let's say, an hour's drive for him home. But the sheer audacity of this man knowing that I have a baby girl, that I'm a single mom, that I have a baby girl, the sheer audacity of him asking for our first date if he could come over and stay the night with me afterwards because he doesn't risk drinking and driving. Oh no. No, 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 no. That was a big red flag. I immediately kiboshed this. And so, of course, I told him I'm not okay with that. I have a 1-year-old little girl, and I'm not okay with you with letting a stranger into our home to potentially stay the night. No, thank you. Now, again, my daughter and I were living with our parents, and so if he'd known that, I'm sure he probably wouldn't have even offered. But oh my goodness, the huevos of this guy, right? To say that and ask that. He clearly had one thing on his mind, and this mama was not interested in that. And so he proceeded to tell me that he thought I was overreacting, which I said a polite but firm, no, that's not going to work. And yeah, he basically told me that I needed to, in the words of Taylor Swift, shake it off. And that was, yeah, like I said, a big old red flag and an instant block. I blocked him so that we just couldn't have any more interactions. And I put a big red line through his name, right? He was immediately off the list. So that's the whiskey tasting guy. I have 2 more short stories. I'll tell both of these quickly. The next guy, I call him the houseboat guy. So I had met someone else. I think this one was on Bumble. He had a houseboat and he asked if he could cook me dinner on his houseboat. Again, this is on a first date. The courage of these guys to think I don't know if some women just have sucker written on their head or what, but but this guy told me he lives in a houseboat on the lake. We have several lakes in the Middle Tennessee area here. So he told me he wanted to cook me dinner on his houseboat. And I proceeded to say, "We've never met. You're a perfect stranger. So I would feel more comfortable if we met at a public location, a public venue." Because also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, wow, you might be an axe murdering serial killer, and it would be really easy for you to drug me and chop me up and throw me overboard like Dexter, and I would never be seen or heard from again, right? Those are the thoughts that are racing through my head. I was still like, hey, we could meet in town. Let's meet downtown. There are some great restaurants in Nashville, so many that I still haven't tried. And then he tells me, well, he would just really like to cook me dinner on his houseboat. Besides, his truck is too big to park anywhere downtown. And he might be compensating, is all I'll say about that. Parking in most metro areas is not fun. It can be really frustrating. But for you to use that as an excuse of why you want to bring a woman to your houseboat to cook her dinner for a first date, like, no, 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 just not going to work. So this was another word. Now let's take a quick break. Hey, Secret Mom hackers. Are you a budget savvy family looking for a financial tool that can help you take control of your spending and savings? Well, I've got something fantastic to share with you. Cube Money. Cube Money is the ultimate budgeting solution that's tailor-made for families who want to manage their money with ease and precision. Here's why our family loves it. It's just like the envelope system we all know, but digitized. Imagine the simplicity of old school envelope budgeting, but with a modern twist. Cube Money digitizes the envelope system, allowing you to allocate funds to specific spending categories right from your smartphone. It's like having a set of virtual envelopes for groceries, entertainment, and more, all in one app. The whole family benefits. Cube Money isn't just for individuals. It's designed to accommodate the needs of your entire family. You can set up sub-accounts for your spouse and kids, helping everyone stay on the same financial page. It's a powerful tool for teaching financial responsibility to your children. Stress-free savings. Planning for the future is a breeze with Cube Money. You can easily allocate funds for savings goals, whether it's a family vacation, a new home, or an emergency fund. It's all about turning your financial dreams into reality. So if you're ready to simplify your family's budgeting, track your spending with precision, and achieve your financial goals, give Cube Money a try. Visit their website at Cube Money to learn more. That's QUBE money.com to learn more and use the discount code SECRETMOMHACKS, all one word, SECRETMOMHACKS, to get 2 months of their premium or family plans for free. Cube Money, on a mission to see you live more and worry less. Try Cube Money today. Now back to the show. Another situation where immediately just blocked. What kind of crazy do you think I am? Right? No, thank you. Okay. And then the next thing I want to tell you about, this isn't necessarily a horror story, but just to tell you how I was really treating this like a game. Like I was saying earlier, I knew that Mr. Right was out there. I knew my perfect partner was out there somewhere. Sometimes it really is about quantity and going through. You've heard the phrase, I'm sure, you've got to take massive action, right? So going on these apps and just doing all the swiping, connecting with as many people as you can, figuring out if there's a connection or not. So I did something one day. I was like, well, I'm just going to take the entire day out. My parents were able to watch my daughter at the time, and they were all for it. They were like, hey, go, this could be, all three of them might be a total loss, but you never know until you go meet the person, right? The faster you get through the frogs, the sooner you might get to kiss the prince, right? So on this one particular day, I planned 3 dates on one day. It was like a Saturday, of course, because it was the weekend, didn't have to work. So I planned a coffee date that morning. I planned a lunch date. And after the lunch date, the man I went on a lunch date with, we went to a museum downtown. And then I was going to go just hang out at a coffee shop, read a book by myself. And then that evening, I had set myself up for a date with a local chef. So, how it all panned out, the coffee date, I think I'd met him on a Coffee Meets Bagel. It was lovely. He was very friendly. Turns out he was a father too. We had a great connection, but after meeting and messaging back and forth, we were just not really vibing. And then the lunch date was actually with somebody who I think I'd met him on Bumble, but he was from out of town. And he drove about an hour to come and meet me and hang out with me. And so that's too why I was willing to spend a little bit more time with him to make it both of our while. We went to the museum and walked around. So I spent a couple of hours with this guy. Really enjoyed getting to know him. I thought he was super nice, but again, just wasn't feeling it. And then I was supposed to have a dinner date with a chef here in Nashville. And once again, he was kind of looking to me, I felt like, to plan the date. But I was also looking to him if he's a local chef who he works in a pretty popular restaurant in Nashville, then once again, as the guy, I was really looking to him to take the reins and plan the date and take me somewhere new and exciting and trendy that I'd never been before. And we had settled on a time, but we'd never settled on a place. So we'd gotten to the point where I didn't really know where I was supposed to be meeting him. So I ended up just canceling that date and I went on back home to see my baby girl. And I was swiping through more people and just needed to get through more people so that ultimately I could get connected with Jeff on Hinge, which is exactly what I needed to happen because now we are living our happily ever after. So, to all the single moms out there who are navigating this dating maze, remember this: the ability to laugh at the quirks of this journey is a gift. It not only makes the experience more enjoyable, but also allows you to approach each date with an open heart and a smile. Speaking of hearts, now let's explore the heart side of this adventure: the search for true love. It's a journey that requires patience, optimism, and a steadfast belief that the right person is out there waiting to be discovered. Patience is a virtue often tested in the quest for love. It's about resisting the urge to settle and trusting that the right connection will unfold at the right time. The dating world can be fast paced, but true love is worth the wait. And remember, every date, whether it feels like a step forward or a detour, is a part of your unique journey. So embrace the process and let the experiences shape you into the person you are meant to become. I will never forget. I just want to share one more little story with you about Jeff. When we had first connected, so as I'd said, I had ridiculous experiences with some of these guys. Like I was saying about the whiskey tasting guy and the houseboat guy. And I will never forget something that so impressed me about Jeff. So we spent a few days messaging each other through the Hinge app. And then eventually we exchanged numbers and we texted a couple of times. And very quickly, I will never forget, I was at work and I was walking to my desk and I got a text message from him that basically said something along the lines of, "Hey, I would love to take this offline. Would it be okay if I called you? If I called you sometime in the next couple of days?" That was such a breath of fresh air because, quite frankly, he is the only one who asked to speak with me on the phone. All of these other guys, we would message and then we would text and then we would set up a date. And it was like, okay, meeting in person was really the first time we actually talked to each other. So it was always kind of weird. So I will never forget. That was something that I just knew, ooh, this Jeff guy, he's very different. This is exciting. He wants to talk on the phone. Heck yes. This is taking me back to high school and college when you would have those, you know, hour and a half, 2 hour long phone conversations with a guy, right? And so I was showing that to some of my coworkers, like, oh my goodness, this guy is asking to call me. Hello. Yes, please. So I gave it a beat, had to play cool. I didn't respond immediately. I gave it like 20 or 30 minutes. And then I told him, absolutely, I would love to talk with you soon, today or tomorrow. And that day after work, he called me and we talked on my entire commute home. And I remember I even had to like turn off my car and sit in the car for a minute as we were finishing our phone conversation because we were just having a really good time talking on the phone and just getting to know each other. So, as we wrap up this heartfelt exploration of dating as a single mom, let's just take a moment to reflect on some of the things we've talked through about this journey. We started by acknowledging the challenges inherent in the maze of dating as a single mom, the time constraints, the balancing act, the intricate dance of priorities. Yet, in acknowledging those challenges, we discovered the silver lining, the gems of increased self awareness, resilience, and the ability to prioritize meaningful connections. We equipped ourselves with valuable tips for venturing back into the dating scene, prioritizing self care as a non negotiable, followed by the importance of open communication and thoughtful consideration when introducing a new relationship to your child. Navigating the world of dating apps became a digital adventure, and we delved into the pros, the cons, and personal experiences that make these platforms a unique and often important part of the journey. In our quest for true love, we explored the significance of patience and optimism. The search for love, much like a fine wine, gets better with time. And the story I shared reminds us that love often finds us when we least expect it. To the incredible single mom listening, remember this: love is out there waiting to be discovered. Each dating experience, whether it brings joy or lessons, is a step closer to finding the right match. Stay resilient, stay optimistic, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Secret Mom Hacks. I appreciate you spending time with me today and hope you found today's topic helpful. If that's the case, please follow me on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a review sharing your favorite takeaways so far. You can do all of that by going to ratethispodcast.com/secretmomhacks. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and until then, you've got this, mama.